The more you look into Overwatch, the weirder it gets. I mean, in the sea of scientists, it just seems that they let a lot go. Like Winston, the Shimada clan's magical dragons, and most confusing of all, Mei's ability to freeze and unfreeze people without, well, killing them. I mean, that on its own is pretty terrifying, but getting chased down by a tiny Chinese girl with murderous intent is the thing of nightmares. But that's besides the point. Mei's ability to freeze people just wouldn't work, because in doing so, you would most likely just kill them. But that's not what I'm here for. I want to know just how possible her gun is. But before we can even consider that, we need to look at the difference between heat and temperature. At first glance, these seem to be very similar. However, when looking at a gun that's able to freeze people solid, the differences are huge. Heat refers to the amount of energy a substance has, while temperature refers to the average heat of a substance. For example, take 2 buckets of water. They both have the same temperature, however, the larger one would have more heat than the smaller one. So in order to actually freeze a person, you'd need to remove all the heat from their body, causing their temperature to drop and thus freezing them. The issue, however, is that we aren't just made of one substance. Our body contains fat, bones, muscles, and even water, and each of these substances lose heat at different rates, better known as their specific heat capacity. So in order to freeze all of these parts, we would need to remove 0.662 joules from our bones, 4.186 joules from our water content, 2.72 joules from our muscles, and 2.26 joules from our fat. Now all we're missing is someone to freeze, and for that we look no further than Roadhog. Looking back at the Roadhog and Junkrat cinematic, we know that Junkrat weighs 250 kgs. The issue is we don't actually know what percentage of that weight is for each component, which means we're gonna have to compare him to a real life Roadhog. The closest thing I could come up with is a sumo wrestler, coming in pretty close to his weight at 200 kgs, and having a very similar athletic build. So after all of that, we can calculate that it would take 52.96 megajoules to remove all of his body's heat and lower his temperature to -1 degree Celsius, or 271.15 Kelvin, essentially freezing him. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's the same amount of energy as a car speeding down the highway. So how do we get rid of all of this energy? Well, because heat moves from a warmer substance to a colder one until both substances have the same temperature, we just need to find something that has a high specific heat capacity that's cold enough that by the time it warms up to 272.15 Kelvin, it would have turned our target into a 250 kg frozen statue. And one substance that meets these requirements is hydrogen. Hydrogen has an incredibly high heat capacity, and when cold is able to suck a ton of energy. To put this in perspective, liquid nitrogen is 63 Kelvin or -210 degrees Celsius, while solid hydrogen has a bone-chilling temperature of 4 Kelvin or -269 degrees Celsius. And in theory, this is cold enough to freeze almost anything. So just how much solid hydrogen would it take to freeze Roadhog? Well, it's way more than you'd think, coming in at around 13.9 kilograms. And this is insane considering that Mei's gun can freeze a target in 2 seconds, which means the gun is pumping out 7.8 kilograms of solid hydrogen every second at a mind-numbing flow of rate of 1500 joules per second, which is the same flow as an anti-riot water cannon. And if that wasn't crazy enough, during an average game, Mei would be shooting out around 400 kilograms of solid hydrogen. So besides being one of the most annoying characters in the game, she's also one of the strongest. But what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, smash the like button, and until next time, stay awesome.